Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Fourth and Goal podcast. We are on episode 11 as we head into week 10 of the NFL season. I'm one of your hosts, Drew, along here with Uncle Bob himself.
How we doing, folks? Thanks for joining us. Hell of a week ahead, hell of a week to go. Doesn't make any sense, but...
That made no sense. This is why I do the intros, man. Either way, we got a lot to cover on the episode today, so we're going to start, as always, with the injury report. A couple pretty significant injuries did go down this weekend. Rob, do you want to take us through some of those injuries?
Yeah, we had Danny Dimes, the New York Football Giants starting quarterback, also your fantasy football team starting quarterback, went down unsurreptitiously in the first quarter, I believe it was. He was out real quick. And it's an Achilles, is that right?
Yeah, I believe his... I can't remember. I think his was ACL.
Yeah,
and
his might have been ACL. His might have been an ACL. It was Kirk Cousins who had the other Achilles. And anyways, that's not the words you want to hear. ACL is also not the best. Cam Akers down. The Vikings just can't buy a break, huh? No. I guess they can when you have the cardiac Josh Dobbs Vikes, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk briefly about the Passtronaut himself. For those of you who don't know, Josh Dobbs is an aerospace engineer and has actually done internships with NASA, but is a starting quarterback in the NFL. And you know what? Good for him. This guy's been in the league for a number of years, but, you know, he's been doing everything right as the backup, and he's one of those guys who I don't think he'll ever be elite, but he certainly has the possibility moving forward to step into, like, a Ryan Fitzpatrick role. Like, the quarterback that you're like, we don't have a guy, but we want someone, Josh Dobbs.
Right. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, the coach of the Minnesota Vikings, was saying, like, down that stretch on that last drive, he was, like kind of mapping out the plays as they were going, trying to explain it, like, through the headset, mid-snap, middle of the drive. He said it was one of the most phenomenal performances he's ever seen a quarterback deal with. So there is something there with Josh Dobbs. Hey, that Vikings team is still pretty deep, even without the Cam Akers injury. Even with the Cam Akers injury. Now they've lost Cam Akers, Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins. The offensive side of that team is just decimated. But the Giants, I mean, weren't really in it anyways. I guess it's Tyrod Taylor's team now.
Yeah, but Tyrod Taylor's on IR.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even mention that injury. Unless that was last week.
That was last week.
Report.
And that's when they brought Danny Dimes back. So yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be Tommy DeVito as the starter. You know, some people are asking whether they will go and pick up a quarterback. I heard some rumblings on Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan, though Carson Wentz is now a Ram. We'll get into that.
Is now a Los Angeles Ram. Yeah, just one last thought. Is Tommy DeVito not the name of the savior for the New York Giants?
No.
Tell me the guy that saves the New York Football Giants is named Tommy DeVito. Like he's out of some 1980s John Gotti knockoff.
I mean, at this point, though, I think the Giants, especially given the fact that, you look at the teams behind the Giants in the standings. You look at the top two picks. It's the Bears from the Panthers, but the Panthers have no incentive to lose because of that. And it's the Cardinals who are bringing back Kyler Murray this week. And, they have a rookie head coach.
The Bears, don't forget your Bears who don't have a first-round pick.
Yeah, but they're not behind. The Bears do have... Right, I'm talking about the teams that have worse records than the Giants. They're tied with the Giants. The Bears and Giants are tied. So,
sorry, I get my shit teams confused sometimes.
Yeah, but all is to say... The Giants, I think, are just going to be happy to run with Tommy DeVito because they're like, we're just in the tank wars now. We're just trying to get Drake May or Caleb Williams. And let's face it, any QB coming to a franchise like the New York Giants, as much issues as they had, is probably happy coming to a big market like New York.
Come on, man. I can already see everyone in the streets of the Bronx shouting, Tommy DeVito! Tommy DeVito! As the New Jersey man himself comes through. You heard it here first. I'm a narrative guy. Tommy DeVito is the savior of the New York Football Giants.
And this is why Rob is doing this podcast and not working for the script writers of the NFL. Either way, before we get into the Week 9 recap, again, we briefly mentioned it, but Carson Wentz did sign with the Rams. I think this is too little too late. What are your thoughts on this?
I saw a meme like 2 weeks ago where it was like all of these injuries to these quarterbacks, and it showed Carson Wentz in like the 5 different jerseys, practice jerseys, like winding up. It's only a matter of time. And sure enough, it was only a matter of time. I don't really think this has much of an impact, to be honest. The Rams are meh. They don't. I don't think they're really going to be able to sneak into a playoff spot. If they do, good for them. It is what it is. The team's not very exciting to me.
I think when the Rams are fully healthy, they can do it, but they've lost too many games. They haven't really been fully healthy. So it's just not going to be the Rams' year again this year. Like, the one thing that this does, it's better than Brett Rippon. Like, he's better than Brett Rippon. I think we can all agree on that. So it helps for fantasy managers. If you have Kyron Williams, who's coming back soon, if you have Puka Nacua, if you have Cooper Kupp, you're happy about this because it means the offense won't be abysmal. But that's literally the only impact it has. And
this Rams team is looking a lot like those Toronto Raptors, kind of like a hangover. Like, they made it, they won that ring, and then they just don't know if they're ever going to make it back to the mountaintop.
I mean, I'm a Raptors fan. I don't understand where you're coming from with that. Like, we were a really good team the year after we won the championship. It was and then
whatever. I'm
a few years after as well.
I'm still a little bitter.
Our only year that we sucked, the only year we were bad was the COVID year when we had to play out of Tampa Bay. And then we were good the year after that again. So, yeah, I don't know where you're coming from with this. I think you just don't pay attention to basketball, clearly, because your Warriors are shit now. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, anyways, any other news and notes? We did have my boy George Pickens completely scrubbing the Pittsburgh Steelers off of his Instagram. I mean, we've come from the Antonio Brown era of diva wide receivers, so this is pretty, like, pedestrian, but not a good sign. Not what we want to see from our star receiver. I wanted to hear Pickens for a while. I know Pickett can't throw the ball over 15 yards, but
correct.
I would have liked to see they're winning games, guys. We're winning games. Stop being selfish. Let's play Steeler football.
No, we all know what's going to happen. The Steelers are going to finish 9-8. We said it at the start of the season. It's going to happen. Like, I actually might have made a mistake in my picks this week. You'll see it later, but I picked the Steelers, and they are above one game above 500, meaning that it's more likely than not that they lose this game. I really should have picked against the Steelers thinking about it, just because where they're going to end. We know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, before we get into week 10 there, we should definitely do our week 9 recap. Let's start with that AFC North right now. You got the Ravens, the head of division, and then the Browns, the Bengals, and the Steelers owning all 3 wild card spots in the AFC. I called it before the year. I said this is the toughest division in football. Looks like I might have been right. What are your thoughts? That's pretty crazy right now. All 4 AFC North teams have a playoff ticket. I know we're many moons away, but
it's definitely a crazy stat. I think we have 2 contenders and 2 pretenders in that division. I think the contenders are your Ravens and your Bengals. I think that the Steelers and Browns are a bit of pretenders. Like, the Steelers, their defense can hold them in games because it's pretty good, but you're not going to win with Kenny Pickett. Like, you're not going to win with Kenny Pickett. I don't. You can try to tell me they can win with Kenny Pickett, but I think everybody is going to disagree with you. The Browns.
After seeing CJ Stroud, even really Will Levis almost win against us, I admit I have not seen a single drive out of Kenny Pickett that he puts together some long passes like that. But he has moxie. He wins games.
Yeah, but okay. Guess what? Mark Sanchez used to win games too. Are you saying Mark Sanchez was an elite quarterback? Heck, he made 2 straight AFC Championship games.
Yeah, and he beat the Tom Brady Patriots. That was a hell of a couple of runs that he went on there when he was the Sanchez. That was pre butt fumble. But until I see a butt fumble from Kenny Small Hands Pickett, I'm taking him.
And then the Browns. I think the Browns have a really good defense, but we have not seen Deshaun Watson as an elite quarterback since 2020? That was the last time we saw this guy be elite. I think he was.
I know one thing he's elite at, and we don't really want to go into
we're not getting there. But, like, he did lead the league in passing yards back in 2020. Like, like, he was legit. Yeah, one of those years. But he was legit. But, you know, he missed a full season. He missed most of the next season. He was bad at the end of last year. He's been not good in the time he's played this year. You know, the defense is there. But in the NFL, nowadays, you don't win come playoffs unless you have a good quarterback. I think the Browns could make the playoffs. Again, if 9-8's good enough to make the playoffs, the Steelers make the playoffs too. Though, I'll tell you right now, I don't think that... I think both the Dolphins and the Bills are making it, and so probably the Steelers drop out, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of cannibalization in that AFC North, right? Like, we have to all play each other. There's going to be some L's taken. I do think definitely 2, maybe 3 teams from the AFC North will take it. I think that Deshaun Watson trade, with how good the Texans are right now, is looking like highway fucking robbery for Houston. They got like 2 first rounds, 2 seconds, and like a third, I'm pretty sure. It's something ridiculous. Like, it's 5 picks, kind of really high. And CJ Stroud's a beast. And now all of a sudden that team's good, has a lot of picks lined up. Like, beware Houston 3 years from now.
Yeah, no, the Texans, as you say, like, since they got rid of Bill O'Brien, they have been crushing it, the front office there. Front office, coaching, like, I got nothing bad to say about that franchise. That franchise is going in the absolute right direction, as shown by CJ Stroud, who might have had the comeback game of the year, 470 yards, 5 passing TDs. I think that's the game of the year. I'd like to know your thoughts, but I think it is the game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think enough people were watching it. And so for game of the year, you do kind of need a bit more of that, like, primetime national. But, like, yes, in terms of just, like, entertainment value, that by far was, like, riveting. I turned off Red Zone to go tune into that. Just because it was, like, holy shit. And, like, again, as a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan with Kenny Pickett, when I see something like that, I just go, shit. That's what we don't have, right? So that Texans team, man, that AFC South with the Jags and the Texans could be tough for some years to come. Even the Colts are a little frisky, like that.
Dude, yeah, like the Colts are frisky. Anthony Richardson looked decent when he was playing. Obviously, we need to wait for him to be back next year, but the AFC South is definitely a lot more competent a division right now than I think anyone projected, because even the Titans with Will Levis, like, this is a way more competent division than anyone would have anticipated coming into this year.
We got fucking running backs kicking field goals, which was wild, by the way. I love when that kind of shit happens. Crazy enough that the running back that kicked that field goal, his sister won the game-winning shot for Notre Dame in the championship women's NCAA tournament. So that is like a stacked family over there.
Yeah.
Just goes to show you that, like,
genetics
we never had
matter.
a shot, Drew. It's all, it's like pedigree, family upbringing, genetics. These things are all very important.
Yes, they are.
So what else from week 9 struck with you?
I mean, a big one to me is the Ravens might be turning into, for me at least, a team akin to the Steelers and Cowboys. And what I mean by that is you just never know what you're going to get. They absolutely went out and trounced very good teams in the Lions and the Seahawks, and then got beat by Kenny Pickett and barely beat the Josh Dobbs Cardinals. And it's like, these are 2 different, like, do they just play to their opponent? Like, they beat good teams, but they lose. They don't really show up for not as good teams. I don't know.
Kind of, right? And Lamar Jackson seems to be one of those regular season type of guys, right? Like, we've seen this before. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what to make of this team. It's the same thing with betting on them as with fantasy. Like Gus Edwards is getting all sorts of running touchdowns. He could also go 4 weeks without any. Like, the wide receivers you can't trust. So, like, the whole team is a bit just like, it's a bit helter-skelter, a bit schizophrenic. As you know, I hate the Ravens, so I don't know what to make of them either. I want to hate them, but I'm very afraid of them as well. We got that 1 win already. I don't think we'll take 2, and I'm almost hoping we don't, because in case we face them in the playoffs, It's very hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. So part of me wants to kind of take that L so we enter any playoff scenario even Stevens.
That is the least.
That's just superstition.
That is the least logical thing I've ever heard.
Before we head on to week 10, I do want to holler at my Bengals. They're back, baby. They are back. Joe Burrow is back. Jamar Chase got a little bit hurt. We don't like to see that. But I think this is informed Bengals heading into the depths of winter. Be afraid, folks. Be afraid.
Yeah, the Bengals, they have a good defense. They had good receivers. They have a good running game. Joe Burrow was good. I don't quite want to call him great against the Bills, only because the Bills' secondary has been an absolute sieve with all the injuries. And so I would have liked more than 24 points put up against them to really prove to me Joe Burrow is back. But I agree with you. We've seen them beat the Bills. They beat the 49ers. Those are 2 very tough games. I don't know if Joe Burrow is 100% back, but he's at least past the point of where he's a liability to his team. Mm-hmm. And with everything around him, with everything around that team, if Joe Burrow is even close to his full self, they're a team that's going to compete with anyone in the league. Yeah. And then last thing, I think before a couple more things, quickly, Cowboys and Eagles. That was a close game. Cowboys twice, a game of inches to win, and then had it 1st and 5 from the 6-yard line. It ended up like 4th and like 38 from the 40. It was a bad show.
Typical Dallas Cowboys, right? Like,
yeah,
they come to expect for this franchise over the last two decades, really.
Yeah, they had it, they lost it. I mean, they showed they can compete with the Eagles. Like they're a legit team. They are legit.
The Cowboys, like you said, they're on the Steelers-Ravens level of like, who knows if they're going to show up and put 48 and shut them out, or get absolutely trounced by whoever they got. Yeah,
exactly. Bipolar. And then the last one, the NFC West, 6 points. And I'm not talking those teams scored 6.
Stat today. I know you told me the stat today. It blew my fucking mind.
Yeah, the entire division combined scored 6 points. The 49ers were on bye, but the other 3 teams combined 6 points.
That's got to be a record, right? We have 0 from the Cards, 3 each from the Seahawks, and the
Rams.
The Rams. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying to blank up.
Yeah, we don't need to talk in detail about this. It's just something that's like, what the fuck?
I think the last thing is Frankfurt. We found out, as you've always been saying all year long, the Dolphins are who we thought they were. As in, they smash bad teams and they cannot beat good teams. And until they do, I'm in your corner on this, my friend. I will be taking, that was a great game to bet on the Chiefs, right? You're getting wonderful odds, and we know the Dolphins can't compete. Until they can beat winning teams, I am in your corner. Let's take those Tyreek overs in any games against the Falcons or whatever. But as soon as they got to play, I don't want to say the Steelers, but a team of repute, say the Niners, we know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I was a little bit waiting and seeing on that game because obviously they do have Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey back, and that was going to be a big question. But the fact is, their offense against these good teams, they didn't put up that many points against the Bills. They didn't put up that many points against the Chiefs. They didn't put up that many points in any of these against the Eagles. And so it's if their offense isn't doing it, even adding those 2 really good cornerbacks, their defense still doesn't have it. Exactly. We'll see.
The bigger worry for me is their defense, right? I think we know that the offense can show up, although this game didn't really prove that, too. They had a problem executing. But if you combine the problems with execution with the defensive sieveness, that's a team to be worried about. I would take the Jaguars over the Dolphins any day right now.
Oh, same. I think the Jaguars are quite a good team. Their defense is underrated, and their offense can do what they need to. But yeah,
tough.
Yeah, let's move on to our Week 10 predictions. So let's get those up on the screen. So, Rob, you had a bit better of a week than me last week. You went 10-4. I went 9-5. I tried to get a little frisky against Vegas for 1 week, and I'll quickly show it on the screen now as well. Vegas went 12-2. The wrong week to go frisky against Vegas.
Vegas was out there taking souls as Vegas does, right? This is one of those times when you sit down at the blackjack table with your $40 and you just put 4 hands of 10 and it's gone, and you're within 12 seconds you're back back at the strip club because there's nowhere else to go in the casino. Vegas was very, very pleased this week.
Yeah. Vegas had a pretty good game, pretty good week, but we'll see what we're able to do this week. So, Rob, why don't you take us through a few of the matchups, what you like, what you don't like, and some of your upset picks here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty even week in terms of games. I feel like a lot of these are toss-ups, a lot of kind of even teams playing against each other. I don't see a lot of potential blowouts here. A lot of these could go either way, which is why we'll get to the best bets in a bit. But I haven't taken any money line things yet. I want to do a little bit more research. I think the Panthers are technically an underdog against the Bears. Is that correct?
They are a dog.
I love that pick. Yes, they're on the road, but it's Chicago. They were heading into winter. So normally I would be more afraid. And you do have tatted up, full sleeve Tyson Badgett D2 out there. But this is why I feel like they can win this game. Like, the Panthers are going to win like 2 games this season. They've already got one. This feels like the other one they could win. That didn't seem like too far of a push for me. I also have the Titans on the road against the Bucks. Count me a Will Levis believer. I was worried down the stretch against my own Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football. We got the interception, which saved my bets as well as my team. But I think Will Levis can go into Tampa and beat Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. You're actually a big fan. You think that's a relatively exciting game. I can comment a little bit more on my picks, but let me hear from you for a bit.
Yeah, so I think the Buccaneers, that's a tough game. That's a tough call because I like Will Levis. I think Will Levis is legit. But the Buccaneers the reason that CJ Stroud had to go for 470 yards and 5 touchdowns is because the Buccaneers put up points. And the Buccaneers have been a big surprise this year, better than a lot of people expected. This is one of those games I'm just picking the home team. And it happens that the Buccaneers are at home. That's literally why I picked them. And your point on the Panthers and Bears, that's the Thursday nighter. I think the NFL was like, oh, that was the trade for the first overall pick. Maybe this will be interesting. No, NFL, it's not. You fucked up. I'm going to be streaming this, but I am not looking forward to it. This is like the worst possible primetime game you could imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I built tiers for this week's games, and I had this in the not going to watch a second of it, but it is on Thursday night prime time, and we have the 4th and Goal Twitch, so obviously I got to have a little bit of money on it, which will be the only thing that makes this game exciting, because goddamn, Bears-Panthers on a Thursday, I want to slam. The thing is, I want to slam the under hard on this, because I think it's going to be like 13-9, but it could also be like 35-28. Like a shit show of no defense. I have no idea what we're gonna get out of this.
Yeah, because Bryce Young can just go to Adam Thielen all game, and the Bears can't defend it, and the Bears could just run the ball with Donta Foreman and get 3 touchdowns.
One thing that scares me though, Drew, just to change gears a little bit, we all have, me, you, and Vegas, have the Saints on the road against the Josh Dobbs cardiac Vikes. How do you feel about that? I feel a little timid. I don't know if timid's the right word, but I feel like that could be a Minnesota.
I feel like it could be. I like Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs as a human being is fucking amazing. I got nothing bad to say about Josh Dobbs as a human being. But the Saints actually have a fairly legit defense. The Saints' passing attack seems to be coming alive as they're utilizing Taysom Hill more and more each game. A little bit more on that in Uncle Bob's corner for me. But, I mean, it's fair. It's the Vikings at home, and Josh Dobbs will have another week with the team, but I'm still picking the Saints on that. If they had been looking like they were 3-4 weeks ago, right? Yeah. If the Saints were looking like they were 3-4 weeks ago, I probably might flip this pick, but the Saints are starting to come around, and so I'm going to pick them to win.
The other one that we're all in agreement on that worries me is all of us taking the New York Football Jets against the Raiders in Las Vegas. That's got to be a recipe for disaster, right? Like, how many Cougars can possibly go to that game to inspire Zach Wilson to win?
And I want to point out, that is another New York Jets primetime game. Why?
Oh,
why do you do this to us?
Right? Because they were expecting Aaron Rodgers to be in all these games, not MILF Hunter Zach Wilson.
Yeah, like looking at this schedule, this has got to be one of the worst primetime lineups. You have Panthers at Bears, Jets at Raiders, Broncos at Bills. Like, Broncos at Bills is far and away the best one, and that's not even a good one.
And that's only if we get the Broncos that showed up against the Chiefs, which we've seen one game so far this year.
Yep, I mean, even if the Broncos are shit, it's still the best one, because at least one of those teams is competent. Yeah.
Anyways, any other thoughts from this week before we get into best bets?
The only thing I want to talk about is just kind of the locks of the week. So, Rob, you got Washington at Seattle. I took what Vegas believes to be the largest slam dunk by a wide margin, being the Giants at Cowboys. Again, as we've said every week, Rob, you are just picking your favorites. I am picking Survivor style because I am still alive in Survivor. If you have followed my picks, I have not taken the Cowboys yet. I'm locking them in against your Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants in Dallas.
Tommy DeVito with the victory. Just wait till you hear that out the streets of Queens, coming your way. Hey. New Jersey, Poughkeepsie, New York. Everyone's going to be supporting Tommy DeVito. But yeah, no, I mean, I actually took the Seahawks in my real Survivor, the one where I have my most money. Not that this one's not legit, but I have a big Survivor league with lots of money, which I'm still alive in, where I am taking the Seahawks. So just for that kind of like mojo, I went with them here. Fans of the program will know that I do have the Commanders over, which is a little wishy-washy, so perhaps this is a bit of a hedge against that. But we do have an East Coast team traveling to the West Coast. The Seahawks have taken a couple tough L's against good teams. I think they're just going to smash at home against that traveling Washington football team.
Yeah,
the last thing I want to say...
Go for it.
No, I was just going to shout out my Steelers. But
of
there's
course.
Nothing to say.
I was just going to say, to my Cowboys pick, this will be the 1 week they lose. As I've said many times, the Cowboys can beat any team and lose to any team on any given week. And I just have this sinking feeling that somehow the Giants and Tommy DeVito are going to beat this Cowboys team. But I'm still picking them. It's just too tantalizing not to.
Tommy! You know, I know his cousin down at the corner. We talk every Sunday.
Oh, my God. I think this is a good time to move on to our next segment. So, Rob, why don't you take us in?
All right, here we go to Best Bets with Bookie Bob. Yes, that's correct. This is Uncle Bob's specific corner for those degenerates and family friends. Family-friendly corner. Well, it hasn't been so friendly to Uncle Bob, who is minus $19.68 on the year. I have actually clawed back a bit from my deficit. This week was relatively good for me. That's about a negative 20% profit margin on the year. So, you know, we're hitting the turning point. We definitely got to improve that. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, we have $171 in profit for Drew. So anyone that's been following his picks are rich, and you know, it hasn't been. We don't really fuck with them anyways.
It hasn't been as good lately. I started off hot. I think I was maybe slightly up this week, but like not considerably. But
yeah, there was some regression to the mean. You got a little Josh Reynolds happy with me, and then last week it just kind of didn't hit. You had some injury woes in there, but yeah, there is regression to the mean. You can't really complain though, being up a whopping 170% or whatever.
No, I'm not complaining. I am not complaining.
So this week we're a little bit not shy, I would say, but there's less money out on the table. I will say that I will be placing more money on some of these underdog spread over-under sort of things when I can do more research closer to the weekend. But for now, I got a simple $5 on one of our special bets that's offered by FanDuel Canada. This is CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown to have over 200 receiving yards combined, and that's at plus 280. So I put $5 on that. CeeDee Lamb has been on an absolute tear. So is St. Brown. He's averaging over 100 yards in those last 30 games as well. I'm a little worried that the Cowboys are just going to smash the Giants and run the ball. That's kind of my one concern here. But I think I'm going to keep riding the CeeDee Lamb train until the gravy runs out. And so that's where I got my money for now. But I do have a couple of these tight toss-up coin flips that I'm eyeing as we get closer to the weekend. Drew, why don't you explain your bets for the week?
Yeah, so I mean, Rob here copied me because I had sent him that I was doing this bet as well. I'm doing it for $10, not $5, so it's at plus 280. Again, he's right. The CeeDee Lamb is not like it's a high risk because the Cowboys, when they dominate teams, which they have done this season, don't throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb. He doesn't get great yardage, and this is the recipe for that. And Amon-Ra is a very safe 80 to 120 yards. So he's not going to go for 150 plus. He almost never does. He's very consistent. So you need the yards from CeeDee. It's a risk, but at plus 280, I'm willing to take that risk. And then I also have a bit of a fun one. This is a Taysom Hill rush and pass TD. He has to get both at plus 2,400 for $2. It's just me throwing a little bit of a bet and being like, hey, the Taysom Hill experiment seems to be working in New Orleans right now. Maybe they do a bit more, and all of a sudden I can get a bit of a win here.
And who doesn't love like those Saints drives entering the red zone when you were just going to be off your rocker wild about any Taysom Hill wildcat situation?
Oh.
Like you might get a pass, he might receive one and throw one, and then you'll be like, fuck, right? So there's a lot of like fun gambling stimulus to be had on this bet.
Yeah, it's a $2 because if I lose $2, it is what it is. But if I win, it's $48. So it's not bad. One other bet I will be doing for sure. I'm slamming the Josh Reynolds over again. Like as long as it's within a reasonable timeline. It's not live yet. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you guys what it is, what it pays. But like again, he missed it last week. That's his first, or 2 weeks ago. That's his first time missing. And that's probably going to lower what the over-under is, especially now that they brought in Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm still smashing it. The man is on the field so much. It's against the Chargers, whose defense is not great.
Yeah. I like it specifically for that last reason, and I need a little redemption on my boy Josh Reynolds, so I might have $1 or $2 on that.
Oh, fuck. If Rob's in, I'm out. If Rob's in, I'm out. Rob was the bad juju on Josh Reynolds. If Rob makes that bet, I will not be making that bet. I am saying it right here, right now.
Oh, I knew I would rattle the snake's cage with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I also like some of these other, like I said, I'm liking like maybe some Colts in Germany with a spread or straight up, right? Maybe even the Panthers on Thursday night. So keep an eye out for our Twitter account. We will be posting any additional bets. That is 4th and Goal 101. Please join us as well for the live stream that is happening every Thursday, Sunday, and Monday night games. We like to win money. We like to talk some shit and enjoy ourselves. So that's a lot of fun. You can also check us out on pretty much every other social media channel at 4th and Goal 101. I think with that, Drew, that kind of brings us to the end of the pod, unless you had any final comments as we head into close to our we're in our preteen years of the NFL season. Is it week 10 now?
Week 10. We didn't talk about it. It is literally the halfway point of the season.
We hit double digits.
It's literally halfway. I know. It's sad.
It really only is like 4 months, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, we still got a lot of good football ahead of us. We still got some playoff races that we're going to have to start breaking down in a few weeks. But I think that's everything. Rob said it all. So with that, we will see you guys hopefully at the live streams. And if not, we'll see you next week for another episode of the 4th and Goal podcast.